Hello, it's Dispeller back again with chapter 4 this time of the Boundaries book and part 2. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We talked about the first phase of the developing of healthy boundaries. I believe it was the individuation, possibly. Or, well, it wasn't the first phase. It was talking about individuation. These are the next phases: hatching, practicing, and rapprochement. Hatching. Mommy and me aren't the same. It's not fair, a mother of a 5-month-old boy told me. We had 4 months of bliss and closeness. I loved Eric's helplessness, his dependency. He needed me, and I was enough for him. All of a sudden, it changed. He got, I don't know how to say it, more restless, wigglier. He didn't always want me to hold him. He became more interested in other people, even in brightly colored toys, than me. I'm beginning to get the picture, the woman concluded. He needed me for 4 months. Now motherhood is spending the next 17 and a half years letting him leave me. In many ways, this mother got the picture. The first 5 to 10 months of life mark a major shift in infants. From mommy and me are the same to mommy and me aren't the same. During this period, babies begin moving out of their passive union with mother into an active interest in the outside world. They become aware that there's a big, exciting world out there, and they want a piece of the action. This period is called hatching or differentiation by child researchers. It's a time of exploration, of touching, of tasting, and feeling new things. Though children in this phase are still dependent on mother, they aren't wrapped up in closeness with her. The months of nurturing have paid off. The child feels safe enough to start taking risks. Watch crawlers in full tilt. They don't want to miss out. This is a geographical boundary in motion, away from mother. Look into the eyes of a baby in the hatching phase. You can see Adam wide-eyed wonder at the flora, fauna, and majesty of the earth created for him by the Lord. You can see the desire to discover, the drive to learn hinted at in Job 11:7. Can you discover the depths of God? Can you discover the limits of the Almighty? No, we can't. But we are created to discover, to experience the creation, and to know the Creator. This is a difficult period for new mothers. As the mom in the beginning of this section described, it can be a letdown. Especially, it's hard for women who have never really hatched themselves. They long for nothing but closeness, neediness, and dependency from their baby. These women often conceive lots of children or find ways to spend time with very young infants. They often don't enjoy the separating part of mothering. They don't like the distance between themselves and baby. It's a painful boundary for mother, but a necessary one for the child. I've actually seen this in certain people that just keep having child after child after child. They don't want the child to grow up and become an adult. They just want to keep them babies because it fills their need for having somebody. Okay, practicing. I can do anything. But what's wrong with wanting to have fun? Life wasn't meant to be boring, protested Derek. In his late 40s, Derek dressed like a college student. His face had that tanned, unlined look that appears unnatural on a middle-aged man. Something was out of place. Derek was talking to his pastor about switching his membership from the 35 and older singles group to the 20s and 30s group. They're just not my speed. I like roller coasters, late nights out, and switching jobs. Keeps me young, you know. Derek's style describes someone still stuck in the second stage of separation individuation, practicing. During this period, which usually lasts from age 10 months to 18 months and then returns later, babies learn to walk and begin to use words. The difference between hatching and practicing is radical. While the hatching baby is overwhelmed by this new world and still leans a great deal on mother, the practicing child is trying to leave her behind. The newfound ability to walk opens up a sense of omnipotence. Toddlers feel exhilaration and energy, and they want to try everything, including walking down steep stairs, putting forks into electric sockets, and chasing cats' tails. People like Derek who are stuck in this stage can be lots of fun, except when you pop their bubble about their unrealistic grandiosity and their irresponsibility. Then you become a wet blanket. It's revealing to talk to the wet blanket who's married to a practicing child. No job is more tiring. Proverbs 7:7 describes the youth stuck in the practicing stage. I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who lacked judgment. This young man had energy, but no impulse control, no boundaries on his passions. He becomes sexually promiscuous, which often happens to adults who are caught in this phase, and he ends up dead, till an arrow pierces his liver like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Proverbs 7:23. Practicers feel that they'll never be caught, but life does catch up with them. What practicing infants, the ones for whom omnipotence is appropriate, need most from parents is a responsive delight in their delight, exhilaration at their exhilaration, and some safe limits to practice. Good parents have fun with toddlers who jump on the bed. Poor parents either quench their children's desire by not allowing any jumping, or they set no limits and allow them to jump all over mom and dad's orange juice and coffee. Derek's parents were the second type. In the practicing phase, children learn that aggressiveness and taking initiative are good. Parents who firmly and consistently set realistic boundaries with children in this period, but without spoiling their enthusiasm, help them through the transition. Have you ever seen the posters depicting babies' first steps? Some of these portray a wrong notion. They present the child taking steps toward a waiting mother, arms outstretched. The truth is different. Most mothers report, I watched my baby's first steps from behind. The practicing toddler moves from safety and warmth to excitement and discovery. Physical and geographical boundaries help the child learn action without danger. The practicing phase provides the child with the energy and drive to make the final step toward becoming an individual, but energetic exhilaration can't last forever. Cars can't always run at full speed. Sprinters can't keep up the pace for miles, and practicing children must give way to the next phase, rapprochement. Rapprochement, I can't do everything. Rapprochement, which occurs from around 18 months to 3 years, comes from a French word meaning a restoration of harmonious relations. In other words, the child comes back to reality. The grandiosity of the past few months slowly gives way to the realization that I can't do everything I want. Children become anxious and aware that the world's a scary place. They realize that they still need mother. The rapprochement phase is a return to connection with mother, but this time it's different. This time the child brings a more separate self into the relationship. There are two people now with differing thoughts and feelings, and the child is ready to relate to the outside world without losing a sense of self. Typically, this is a difficult period for both children and parents. Rapprochement toddlers are obnoxious, oppositional, temperamental, and downright angry. They can remind you of someone with a chronic toothache. Let's look at some of the tools toddlers use to build boundaries at this stage. Anger. Anger is a friend. It was created by God for a purpose, to tell us that there's a problem that needs to be confronted. Anger is a way for children to know that their experience is different from someone else's. The ability to use anger to distinguish between self and others is a boundary. Children who can appropriately express anger are children who will understand later in life when someone is trying to control or hurt them. Ownership. Sometimes misunderstood as simply a selfish stage, rapprochement introduces words to the youngster's vocabulary such as mine, my, and me. Susie doesn't want anyone else to hold her doll. Billy doesn't want to share his trucks with a visiting toddler. This important part of becoming a self is often quite difficult for Christian parents to understand. Well, that old sinful nature is rearing its ugly head in my little girl, the parents will remark while their friends nod sagely. We're trying to help her share and love others, but she's caught up in that selfishness we all have. This is neither accurate nor biblical. The child's newfound fondness for mine does have roots in our innate self-centeredness, part of the sinful depravity in all of us that wants to, as did Satan, make myself like the Most High. However, this simplistic understanding of our character doesn't take into consideration the full picture of what being in the image of God truly is. Being created in God's image also means having ownership or stewardship. As Adam and Eve were given dominion over the earth to subdue and rule it, we are also given stewardship over our time, energy, talents, values, feelings, behavior, money, and all the other things mentioned in chapter 2. Without a mind, we have no sense of responsibility to develop, nurture, and protect these resources. Without a mind, we have no self to give to God and his kingdom. Children desperately need to know that mine, my, and me aren't swear words. With correct biblical parenting, they'll learn sacrifice, and develop a giving, loving heart, but not until they have a personality that has been loved enough to give love away. We love because he first loved us. 1 John 4:19. No, the one-word boundary. Toddlers going through rapprochement frequently use one of the most important words in the human language, the word no. While it can emerge during hatching, no is perfected during rapprochement. It is the first verbal boundary children learn. The word no helps children separate from what they don't like. It gives them the power to make choices. It protects them. Learning to deal with a child's no is crucial to that child's development. One couple who did not attend to their child's refusal to eat certain foods found out later that she was allergic to one of them. Often, children at this age become no addicts. They'll not only refuse vegetables and nap time, but also turn away from popsicles and favorite toys. It's worth it for them to have the no. It keeps them from feeling completely helpless and powerless. Parents have two tasks associated with no. First, they need to help their child feel safe enough to say no, thereby encouraging his or her own boundaries. Though they certainly can't make all the choices they'd like, young children should be able to have a no that is listened to. Informed parents won't be insulted or enraged by their child's resistance. They will help the child feel that his no is just as lovable as his yes. They won't withdraw emotionally from the child who says no, but will stay connected. One parent must often support another who is being worn down by their baby's no. This process takes work. One couple was faced with an aunt whose feelings were hurt by their daughter's refusal to kiss and hug her upon every visit. Sometimes the child wanted to be close. Sometimes she wanted to stand back and watch. The couple responded to the aunt's complaint by saying, "We don't want Casey to feel that her affection is something she owes people. We'd like her to be in charge of her life." These parents wanted their daughter's yes to be yes and her no to be no. Matthew 5:37. They wanted her to be able to say no so that in the future she would have the ability to say no to evil. The second task facing parents of children in rapprochement is that of helping the child respect others' boundaries. Children need to be able to not only give a no, but also take a no. Parents need to be able to set and keep age-appropriate boundaries with children. It means not giving into temper tantrums at the toy shop, though it will be less humiliating to quiet the child by purchasing half of the store. It means timeouts, appropriate confrontations, and spanking when necessary. Discipline your son, for in that there is hope. Do not be a willing party to his death. Proverbs 19:18. In other words, help the child learn to take limits before it's too late. Boundary construction is most evident in 3-year-olds. By this time, they should have mastered the following tasks. 1, the ability to be emotionally attached to others, yet without giving up a sense of self and one's freedom to be apart. 2, the ability to say appropriate no's to others without fear of loss of love. And 3, the ability to take appropriate no's from others without withdrawing emotionally. Noting these tasks, a friend said, half joking, "They need to learn this by age 3? How about age 43? Yes, these are tall orders, but boundary development is essential in the early years of life. 2 additional periods of life focus on boundaries. The first is adolescence. The adolescent years are a reenactment of the first years of life. They involve more mature issues such as sexuality, gender identity, competition, and adult identity. But the same issues of knowing when to say yes and no and to whom are central during this confusing time. The second period is young adulthood, the time when children leave home or college and start a career or get married. Young adults suffer a loss of structure during this period. There are no class bells, no schedules imposed by others, and a great deal of very scary freedom and responsibility, as well as demands of intimacy and commitment. This can often become an intense time of learning more about setting good boundaries. The earlier the child learns good boundaries, the less turmoil he or she experiences later in life. A successful first 3 years of life will mean a smoother, but not smooth, adolescence and a better transition into adulthood. A problematic childhood can be helped greatly by lots of hard work in the family during adolescence. The serious boundary problems during both these periods can be devastating during the adult years. "It helps to know the way it should have been for me," said one woman who attended a talk on child development. "But what would really help is to know what went wrong for me. let's look next at where our boundary development goes wrong. We will do that on the next video. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the little thumb up for a like. Share my videos. And hit the bell so you don't miss future uploads. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next video. Shalom.